Hi, I'm Dana, and I'm not currently entirely decided on what this video is going to be called. Although I do have the topic that I want to speak about, because I want to talk about when your special interests are ruined by someone that's specifically involved with a special interest, because I have been in the situations of abuse or just general bullying where people have made me feel really bad about the things that I'm interested in, and it's definitely killed some of my joy and passion around those things, and definitely killed some special interests I had. But currently I don't know if I'm seeing old content, to be fair, but I've been seeing the argument of I can't stop liking J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter because it's my special interest. And it's one of those things where I don't feel any need to start an argument with a specific person saying that, because it's your safe space, it brings you joy, whatever, I don't care that much. But personally, I did really like Harry Potter. I'm of the generation that grew up with it, and I did like it for a long, long time, and it was predominantly J.K. Rowling's views and the things that she said that has made me completely disengaged from the franchise, to the point where I desperately wanted to go to all of the Harry Potter places and see where it was filmed and all that kind of thing. And when I was recently in Universal Studios in America, I looked down and there was Diagon Alley, and I was just like, oh, it's so sad that brings no joy to my heart. There was a point where I would have been one of the people crying and buying a butterbeer, and I just don't care anymore. It's just, it hasn't so much ruined it for me because it wasn't one of my main special interests, but it was something that I regularly hyperfixated on, which I don't do anymore. I've written fanfics about Harry Potter. I used to read a lot of fanfics about Harry Potter. That was how I personally engaged in that fandom for the most part. But every time I move, I end up digging out my 2011 John Barrowman tour t-shirt, and that was the first one for me where I think it was maybe just before lockdown, some of the ways he behaved on set and around co-stars and colleagues came. It didn't even come out, that's the thing, is I grew up aware of it, and I've grown, I've been aware of who John Barrowman is since he was first inducted in 2005 when I was 8 years old. I followed his career, I saw him live, I bought his fucking books, I watched all of his interviews. I realistically was very aware of what John Barrowman was like. And frankly, if he'd just given a decent apology and been I'm really sorry to anyone that I made uncomfortable, it wasn't my intention, but I can see how that would happen, I'm really sorry, I'd have forgiven him immediately and been he just didn't know any better, it's alright. But the fact that he did the well, everyone was okay with it at the time, and it's well, yeah, John, I was 10 years old at the time, you were a full-grown man whipping your cock out to put on people's shoulders, it's not the same. So for me, that was very much the first, I don't want to call John Barrowman a special interest per se, because Doctor Who was my special interest and he happened to be there and be in Torchwood, but I adored Torchwood, and being a young queer person, John Barrowman really meant a lot to me as someone who, he was probably the first person that I saw in any sort of media that I watched interviews with, that I read books from, where he was just living life as a gay man married to his husband, and it was just completely normal and fine. There was it wasn't a thing, it was just normal. And that was a really big thing for me, and something that I really latched onto about him, and I was oh my god, you can grow up and be gay and be happy and just live your life without it being a thing, So I do think that I just put a little bit too much stock in him as a person in general, to be fair. And as much as I hate to say it, I did exclusively listen, not quite exclusively, but I mostly listened to him for several points in high school. It was because of John Barrowman that I was into musical theatre and everything. And having all of these reminders of ways that he behaved inappropriately, and having him just disregard everyone's concerns about it, really, really disappointed me. And it wasn't with Harry Potter where I just was oh, I don't care anymore. It was the thing of I care, and the thing I currently care about is that I don't feel this person aligns with my morals, aligns with what I think is right and wrong, aligns with how I think that you should treat people. Fair enough, at the time, it was a joke. Yeah, I get that, but it made people uncomfortable. People didn't like it. That's why it's been brought up again, and that's where yeah, at the time it was just a joke and you didn't know. You do know now, so why are you not apologising for your mistake? Because that's what it was. It wasn't just a joke. It just doesn't align with me. I don't think it's okay. I don't agree with it. And the other thing that's brought it up for me was that when I first moved into this house, we didn't have Wi-Fi yet. So I watched a bunch of VHS tapes, and I watched Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 and was I fucking love Jeepers Creepers. I adore Jeepers Creepers. These are great movies. I so vastly enjoy watching them. And then this morning I was Jeepers Creepers. I googled it because I was I'm sure I remember seeing something about another one. And fair enough, they're my VHS realm of movies. But like, I've watched all of the Scream franchise when they're realistically also part of like my VHS movies. The way I organise things in my brain's a certain way, okay, that's how it is. But I was like really excited, and then I was like, this came, like the last two Jeepers Creepers movies came out in 2017 and 2019, like I remember them vaguely coming out, like I was skipping through a lot during those moments, but like I had a vague memory of them coming out, and I was like, why didn't I go and see them in the cinema or anything? Like, I saw Scream 4 in the cinema. I should have seen the others in the cinema. I don't really know why I didn't see those either. I think I just missed my slot because I had a lot going on. But like, I remember being like, oh, it's such a shame I can't go see Jeepers Creepers 3. So I googled like Jeepers Creepers 3 controversy, and the director's an absolutely bad one. Like, I don't want to get demonetised, so I'm not going to go into detail, and I also don't want to like fucking trigger anyone that's had anything similar go on. But like, he's an absolute wrong 'un, essentially. And it's so disappointing to me, and it's like, I watched Jeepers Creepers 3, I streamed it to make sure he doesn't get any fucking money off like some like random website. I am going to watch the next one because it's directed by someone else. But the fact that I've grown up with these movies and loved these movies, and like the movies that made me love Justin Long, to find out they've been directed by someone who like, I would not want anything to do with on a personal level. I don't like that. And like, sure, maybe like you separate the art from the artist and everything, but I also, you know, maybe it's personally, like, not to be like, I'm an artist, man, but any art that I have ever made very much has like a strong bit of me in it, you know? It's a personal message, it's self-expression, it's a part of me. Like, I do think that, personally, I don't separate the art and the artist, because I do kind of think they're the same thing. I do think that, you know, massive amounts of the artist go into creating the art. So as much as like, yeah, Jeepers Creepers is a silly little fucking horror movie, I was gonna call it a trilogy, but there's 4 of them. But like, it's a trilogy with the same director that's a proper bad egg that I don't want to have anything to do with, you know? And I just hate thinking that like, that's the man that like did these shots that I really like and chose these bits, and like, I just don't like that someone like that was involved in anything that I liked. And it does make me like stuff less when I know that someone like that was involved. Like Jeepers Creepers perhaps isn't like the best example here, because I do mostly like them because Justin Long's in them. And I do think that's part of why I didn't enjoy the third one as much, but I have also just watched the third one after knowing that a director's like that, and that just made me really, really not enjoy it, even though I might have otherwise, you know? And I think that's also where like my Kevin Smith special interest has gone into like absolute overdrive, because I got to meet him and he was, you know, he was Kevin Smith. He was exactly the way that I expected him to be. And getting to watch his panel and some of the things that he said to like me directly, personally, while we were talking, knowing that like the person that's creating the movies that I adore, like the characters are real for him in the same way that they are for me. Like the way that his brain is working to create the movies is the way that like I hoped it was and expected it to be, to give me the movies that I love, you know? Like, it was such a spot on experience, and I was like, you're not, like, I met him for 15 minutes at a Comic-Con. Maybe he fucking is pretending. Maybe he's a really great actor. I don't fucking actually know him as a person, you know? But also, I met one of my heroes, and he was exactly what I wanted him to be. And I really like thinking that it's that kind of person that's making them things that I consume. Like, not even specifically movies, but like books, TV shows, any of it. You know, I would like to think that it's good people who actually deserve to be where they are that are getting to do those kinds of things. And especially like with the guy that did Jeepers Creepers, he later on wanted to do a Disney film when the thing that he'd done that makes him an absolute wrong in every fucking way, and like involved kids, you know? And he was just like, I made a mistake, but I did my time for it, so like we're over it now. And it's like, no, that's not a mistake that you get to just make and move on from. I'm sorry. Like 99% of mistakes, yeah, not that one. But no. And that only came out while he was doing the Disney film, because the victim went and like picketed one of the fucking cinemas that it was showing in, and their family got involved and shit, you know? And I think that's where it really goes with Harry Potter as well, because that was, you know, as much as I've said it wasn't like a full-on special interest for me, I very much did grow up on it, and I really, really loved the books and the movies, and it was quite an event for my family and stuff when they came out, you know? Like, I was definitely caught up in like the Harry Potter mania that existed, and like it was fun. I loved it. It was such a highlight of my childhood, and it does really suck to be like, oh, maybe the person that created that whole world actually isn't a nice person. And they created this safe space where we all thought we'd be safe and happy, and actually she wouldn't want a whole bunch of us to be there and wouldn't want a whole bunch of us to be safe and happy. And that's a really weird thing to have to correlate with this universe that was created, where everyone's meant to be safe and happy if you're like a remotely decent person. You know, if you're not Voldemort, you're good. But I do also, like, I know that I'm using quite specific examples here, but it's because I have specific examples. I'm sorry about it. But especially with J.K. Rowling, I do, you know, people bring up, like, how shitty of an Aunt Cho Chang is, and the way that the goblins have, like, very, like, anti-Semitic descriptions of their appearance, and, like, there's a whole, like, Zionist, anti-Jewish message thing going on there. I don't have the language for a lot of this thing, but I swear to God I do, like, actually grasp the concept. But, you know, there's all these things, like, there's that video that's, like, 2 hours long that's kind of iconic on YouTube of, like, all of the, like, terrible things that J.K. Rowling included in the books. And it's things like that where I'm like, yeah, I see what you mean, but also, we all consumed this for, like, years and years and years and grew up on it, and a whole bunch of us use this to, like, form a lot of our morals and the ways that we think about things and everything. And I do think that is the kind of thing that we didn't not see it because it wasn't there, but we didn't see it because it wasn't, like, a main biting point, you know? Like, it wasn't that obvious. And people like acting like it was obvious all along, you shouldn't have gone suckered into it and blah, blah, blah. But just why would you be looking for that kind of thing from someone that's supposed to offer a safe space? And I think there's also, like, sort of coming back to, like, the main point that I had, it's the kind of thing there where I have experienced my special interest being ruined and being, like, a terrible person, someone that I don't agree with at all, someone that I don't like is involved in this thing that I really, really love. And I don't necessarily stop loving the thing, you know? Like, I still have the occasional time that I put on a John Barrowman interview or a bit of John Barrowman's music, and it's nostalgic and it's nice and I enjoy it. But I'm never going to be a John Barrowman fan again. And I think it's a combination of, I just don't care about the things quite as much, knowing that it wasn't this, like, perfect happy realm that I wanted it to be. You know, and maybe nowhere's like that, maybe that doesn't exist at all, but it's what I want. Knowing that that doesn't exist makes it just, I just don't care as much anyway. And then it's just like, people deserve to be punished for being shitty people. Like, I don't need to be the one doing the punishment, but if John Barrowman's flopping his cock out onto people's shoulders, I don't think he should get to have a job where he gets to do that, you know? He shouldn't be given the opportunity to do that by getting to work in quite a loose and happy and nice space. So as much as, like, I also just don't care as much, I am making the conscious decision of, like, no, that's not okay. As much as I might still care about the thing, as much as I still like watching those episodes of Doctor Who, as much as I still occasionally watch Torchwood, I don't agree with that and it's not okay. And I've made that conscious decision. And again, as much as Harry Potter wasn't, like, a main special interest, I made the same decision there. I used to rewatch those movies all the time. I used to read lots of fanfiction. I used to read the books, like, at least once a year. And I decided not to because I don't want to support that. And it's not only, like, people love bringing up the monetary aspect, and it's like, no, like, obviously I don't want to support J.K. Rowling or, like, anybody else that's dodgy monetarily, but I also just don't want to support them. I don't want them to think that they can do these things and say these things and believe these things and have fans and have people who will be like, yeah, you're good. You're not. I'm not going to say that. Sure, maybe the thing you created's awesome. You're not. Like, I'm sorry. So it is the kind of thing where I do think it's an excuse when people say, like, oh, but that's my special interest. It's like, okay, find a new one. I'm sorry. I'll give that it's because in my experience, it's not that hard to find a fucking new one and to move on and be like, it's really sad. I've cried about it. I've spent a good amount of time just, like, laying in bed crying because, like, I love John Barrowman, but I fucking don't, you know? It is a difficult thing to process and deal with for an autistic person. I'm not denying that. But I do think that moralistically, if that's the choice you feel like you should make, you should make it, you know? Like, when people, like, are feeling guilt about still liking Harry Potter and stuff, it's like, you don't have to. You don't have to continue liking it. And that's not even, like, as much as I've said, like, I stopped reading fanfiction and stuff, I don't think that you have to stop engaging in fandom, things like that. Buy your fan art, read your fanfics. I'm not saying, like, completely cut Harry Potter out of your life, but you don't need to be chilling with the official shit, you know? It, like, as a queer person, as someone who has a lot of trans friends, I don't trust Harry Potter fans. I'm sorry. And it's also like, if you've had your copy of the Harry Potter books since you were a kid and you reread them every year because it's a comfortable space, I get that. But don't buy any new ones. Don't buy the fucking robes and wear them around Comic-Con. Like, make some choices here, okay? Like I say, you don't have to make the choices. But I do think it makes it clear where you stand, and I assume that trans people are very safe around you. Yeah, I would love if we could just make a cake filled with rainbows and smiles and everyone could suddenly get along and everyone would be nice to each other and everyone would accept each other, but that's not what's happening, and I don't see why I should have to accept people that are bigots, you know? It's not even like accepting people that aren't accepting people, but I accept the person and they would be like it's not a whole thing like that. It's just, why should I have to be nice to bigots? Why should I have to be nice to people who aren't nice people? And I don't care how big or rich or famous they are, I do think that they should be like completely like fucked off. Bit dramatic for J.K. Rowling, she's just a massive turf and a horrible person. But for like the guy that directed Jeepers Creepers, he can absolutely like, nah, I don't think you deserve any sort of quality of life, go away. You know, it's not that I think anything horrible should happen to them, but it is a case of like, I don't think you should get to work in these fun career industries. I don't think that you should get to have fans that tell you how great you are. I don't think you deserve any of that, you know. I think that you should be doing some like manual labour sort of, not necessarily manual labour, you know, they should have a normal fucking job that a normal sort of person will do that is exclusively around adults, preferably, you know, maybe even completely on their fucking own. Like, you can't be trusted, I'm sorry. If you're doing that kind of thing, ew. It's not so much, I think what I'm getting at with that is that it's not so much I think people should be punished, but I think that innocent people should be protected. I'm aware this one's been a sort of a ramble, but like, it really surprised me that I've taken this long to know about this fact. You know, I've definitely spoken about Jeepers Creepers in the past, and one of the main reasons I looked into it is because I've started a little series over on TikTok where I talk about films I wish more people had seen, and I was going to talk about Jeepers Creepers, and I'm really glad I looked it up now, because I don't want more people to see that, I don't want more people to support him, I don't want more people to say that he's made good films or anything. Like, I don't think he deserves that. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm talking about it here because I'm very clearly saying, like, don't watch them, and like, it's directed by a horrible man, don't view them. I would feel cripplingly uncomfortable if I'd done a whole video being like, you should watch this, like, it's just ew. But yeah, that is now the end of the video. I'm struggling a little bit with getting back into like the swing of making content, but I think it'll happen, and I am enjoying it, so at least we've got that going for us. I've started posting over on TikTok again, like I mentioned, if you want to follow me there. I haven't posted on Instagram in a good little while, but I do intend to. I do. See, that's the thing, is like, I like social media. I know people like whinge and moan about it all the time, and I see why, I see the issues with it, but I really like TikTok and Instagram, so it's not so much that like I feel this like huge outward pressure to perform or whatever. It's a case of like, I'm just finding it difficult to do things that I actively enjoy doing, and that sucks. I want to get back into it for me, you know? As much as it's like really cool that I have an audience now, I've been doing this stuff the entire time without one. Like, it is just something that I like doing. But yeah, you can follow me over on those if you'd like to. You can also find me over on Ko-fi and Patreon if you would like to donate monetarily to me at all. There's never any pressure. You do not have to. See, this is the thing, because like I'm technically asking for money because I'm giving you places to send me money, that's asking for money, but also I'm not like asking you for money, you know? It's just like, if you want to give me some, it's there. I'm never gonna get less awkward at doing that. I'm sorry, I hate it, I really don't like it, but I do fucking love it when somebody else send me money. I won't lie, it's real nice to be able to actually order my ass at the shop instead of having to go in store. It's the little things in life, isn't it? It's the little luxuries. So whoever you are and wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.